Here we are sitting at a replica of the actual chess set that Bobby Fischer and Boris Spassky played on in 1972. The 1972 World Championship match between Bobby Fischer and Boris Spassky is now known as one of the most famous matches in chess history. Against the backdrop of the Cold War and so much political tension, it was unclear whether the match would even take place.
Well, Spassky is waiting.
Up until just a couple of days before the match was due to start, Bobby Fischer hadn't even left the US. He hadn't traveled to Iceland, to Reykjavik, where the match was due to take place.
There's absolutely dead silence in the hall.
He was refusing to play, and in the end, it even came down to the first game. Bobby Fischer arrived a few minutes late.
Wait, here comes Fischer.
And in the end, we did get the match we all wanted to see. Game 1 is now regarded as one of the most famous games in chess history because of a big blunder, the biggest blunder in World Championship matches. In this position, Boris Spassky had white in the first game, Bobby Fischer had black. Having arrived late to the game, Bobby did take a bit of time on his moves. It looked like the game was heading towards a draw, but here in this position, he decided to gamble. It was a big mistake in the end, and it was regarded as a beginner's mistake. In this position, black to play, Bobby Fischer, he decided to play bishop takes pawn on h2. And the reason this is regarded as such a beginner's blunder, a beginner's mistake, is because the black bishop simply gets trapped. The black bishop has no escape route after white pushes the pawn to g3. This bishop now is stuck behind enemy lines, and as we saw in the game, it was lost. What Fischer had missed here is that after black tries to push a pawn forward, to offer the pawn as bait to extricate his own bishop, the white king now makes a march towards that black bishop. The white king goes towards it, the black pawn steps forward, but rather than capture this pawn, allowing the bishop out of its prison, here Boris Spassky simply moved his king towards the bishop again. And what Bobby Fischer had missed is this nice sequence, the pawn pushing forward, going closer to its promotion square, the white king chasing this pawn, and after the bishop does try to make its bid for freedom, this final move at the end of the variation. The bishop only has one escape square, it's this one, the e1 square, aiming to get out, and Boris Spassky could now have closed the door by bringing his bishop forward, caging its counterpart. We did see in the end Bobby Fischer lose his bishop, and he lost the first game as well. Game 6 always seems to have a special place in World Championship match history. It was no different in 1972 between Fischer and Spassky. By Game 6, Fischer had leveled the scores. It was 2.5 points each. And Game 6 is where he took control of the match. On move 1, Fischer surprised Spassky by opening with the English opening instead of his usual 1e4. This psychological blow, Spassky simply couldn't recover from. And later in the game, after a really nice opening, we arrive in this position. And simply, it's a huge attack for white. If you look at the rooks, they're on a powerful open line, white's queen nicely centralized on the same diagonal as the black king. All that's needed is a killer blow. And Fischer found the winning motif. He found the breakthrough in really nice style. First, Fischer simply stepped back with his queen. His favorite piece, remember, Fischer, is his light squared bishop. He lines up the queen and bishop on the same diagonal, indirectly attacking the black knight. The black knight decided to move. Spassky brought the knight forward, and this was the finishing touch. Fischer sacrificed one of his rooks for the black knight, and after a recapture, he brought his other rook into the attack. Note how the black pieces are too passive, they can't defend, and after a few more moves, we saw a result. The final move of the game, of the famous Game 6, Fischer's immortal game, was queen to f4, lining up the queen against this pawn, going for the black king, but more importantly, threatening to bring the rook to f8, a double attack against the black queen and the black king. This last move, queen to f4, forced Spassky to resign, and for the first time in the match, Fischer took the lead. From then on, he went on to dominate.